What is the role of the intellect in spiritual awakening? This is the question. You see, just as mysticism or divination may give the dangerous illusion that it's dealing with reality when it is not, in the same way, logic and reason may give us the equally dangerous illusion that it's dealing with truth and reality when it is not. Indeed, if the intellect is subject to error, delusion, and illusion, how can it be relied upon to correctly discern truth, which is itself not subject to error, and absolute reality, which is itself not subject to illusion? Through mindfulness and meditation, we come to see that what the intellect is unable to grasp is actually truer than what it can. So the mind will go on having doubts, asking endless questions, making problems for itself, and creating illusions as it has always done. That is, unless and until the mind or the intellect attains truth or otherwise abides in the stillness of silent presence. Indeed, into crowded minds, no revelation is possible. In the stillness of the mind that admits, I don't know, illumination is more apt to be achieved. Correctly used, its limitations understood, its emotional and egotistic biases discounted, our intellect may enable us to think properly. The intellect can then have a liberating effect. Otherwise, it is likely to have a corrupting one. The limitations of our own intellect must be recognized, for only then will one be ready to enter a realm of consciousness, whereby words are used to rise above words, and thoughts directed in such a way that we may actually extract ourselves from all thoughts. Indeed, it's a bit like fighting fire with fire. So to develop the intellect and then to know when to drop it is to become its master. In so doing, the intellect then fulfills its proper purpose, which is to serve us rather than to torment, dominate, and therefore cause us suffering. Indeed, a time comes where knowledge must end and mystery must begin. Through a little self-inquiry meditation, we see clearly that the best the intellect can do when forced to describe absolute reality is simply to tell us what it is not, which is nothing more than a confession of the intellect that it can go no further. When the searching intellect humbly recognizes that it can never recognize pure consciousness or absolute truth, but rather only its thoughts, ideas, opinions, and imaginations about our true nature or about the true nature of reality, then in that very instant, the intellect surrenders to its limitations and acquires that quality of humility, which is an essential condition for receiving the grace whereby illumination or enlightenment is more apt to be achieved. In such a recognition and subsequent surrender, the intellect can then follow this up to the fullest consequence and consciously cease all its spiritual, metaphysical, or New Age beliefs, techniques, and methods. As it lets go of all these mental activities, our true nature then lays itself open to be penetrated by the highest intelligence, and that is intuition, pure knowing. And for the intellectual types out there, it is essential that we see clearly that we are not our thoughts, but that these thoughts are instead mere projections thrown up out of consciousness. We are that consciousness, the very knowing principle itself. It's a paradox that the most active pursuit of thought leads to human knowledge, whereas the complete cessation of thought leads to divine knowledge. Thinking achieves its highest objective when it leads to its own rest, and the mind transcends all thoughts. Where intellectual knowledge puffs us up, insight humbles us immediately, which is quite the opposite effect. The work done by original, deeply penetrative thinking or contemplation can go far. It can uncover much not yet known, but it cannot solve the mystery of the thinker itself unless and until it renounces its right to do so and gently allows divine silence and stillness to take over. Indeed, where the thinking mind deals with the world and attends to its activities, the silent mind receives spiritual guidance and allows grace to approach and permeate our entire being. The source of wisdom, love, and beauty is within consciousness, not within our egos. Indeed, its presence provides us with a conscious contrast, which enables us to speak of the ego as something different and apart. This presence of awareness is our true nature, our true self, whereas the ego is only an illusion of the mind. The senses may trick us with physical illusions, but can the ego trick us with mental ones? For sure. Is it not the one certain fact which does not depend upon the senses, the fact that we exist and exist consciously? Is it not the one certain fact which does not depend upon the senses, the very fact that we exist and exist consciously? Isn't it so? And that to say I am is the one certainty which cannot be dispelled and the one truth which cannot be denied. Namaste. And remember, one love.